I wake up in a hospital room, the strong smell of disinfectant invading my nostrils. The fluorescent light flickers irregularly on the ceiling, making my head throb. My name is Helen Mitchell. I'm 42 years old, and 3 days ago, I died for 7 minutes. At least that's what the medical chart hanging at the foot of my bed at St. Luke's Hospital in Portland says. But before I tell you my story, subscribe to the channel for more videos. The memories come in confused flashes. The kitchen of my house, the cold porcelain tile floor, the warm liquid running down my neck. And then came that thing. But no, I still can't talk about that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to. You were very lucky, ma'am, says Dr. Marcus, adjusting his thin-rimmed glasses while checking my vital signs. The cut was deep, but didn't hit any vital arteries. Lucky. If only he knew. I close my eyes and see it again. The dark corridor, the smell of sulfur, those hooded figures, and the face. That face that shouldn't have been there. I open my eyes quickly, feeling cold sweat running down my forehead. The heart monitor beside me spikes. Is everything okay, Mrs. Mitchell? Nurse Julie approaches, her brown eyes conveying genuine concern. Would you like me to call someone? I shake my head no. There's no one to call. Peter, my husband, is at home with his son, Lucas. Lucas, my 15-year-old stepson, the same Lucas who... No, I still can't process it. Night falls in Portland, bringing with it a fine drizzle typical of the city. Through the room window, I see the lights of cars passing on the avenue, creating distorted reflections in the drops sliding down the glass. Each shadow seems to move in a wrong way, as if something was lurking. Have you ever had a near-death experience? I ask Nurse Julie when she returns to check my medication. Something that made you question everything you believed to be real? She hesitates for a moment, her hands pausing over the IV bag. No, but I've heard fascinating stories from patients. Why? Did you see something while you were, dead? The word hangs in the air like a specter. How can I explain that? I saw much more than a tunnel of light. How to describe that place where reality folded in on itself, where time didn't exist, where I saw things no human should see? And most importantly, how do I tell her that I saw Matthew, my husband's youngest son, who is alive and well, trapped in that horrible place? The sound of footsteps in the corridor makes me shudder. For an instant, it seems like I'm about to see one of those hooded figures entering through the door, but it's just the night doctor making his rounds. If I told you, I murmur, more to myself than to Julie, you wouldn't believe it. The nurse smiles gently, adjusting my pillow. Sometimes sharing helps us better understand what we've experienced. Want to try? I hesitate. The images of that place begin to flow again in my mind. The pulsating portal, the faceless eyes, the familiar crying. Matthew. Why was he there? What does it mean? The question that haunts me most is, was what I saw a warning of what's to come, or a sentence already defined? A shiver runs down my spine when a shadow quickly passes by the window. Outside, the rain intensifies, and thunder begins to echo through the city. Or were those voices again? You know when you have absolute certainty about something, I finally say, but at the same time, desperately hope you're wrong? Julie nods, pulling a chair to sit beside me. I see in her eyes genuine curiosity, mixed with apprehension. I take a deep breath. Maybe it's time to tell. After all, if what I saw is real, I need help. I need to understand. It all started 3 nights ago in my kitchen. My voice falters. The memories are like sharp knives cutting through my mind. But before I continue, tell me, do you believe it's possible to return from a place that shouldn't exist? And if you came back, could something have come back with you? A particularly loud thunderclap makes the room lights flicker. For a second, I have the impression of seeing a hooded figure reflected in the window glass. When I look again, there's only darkness. Something tells me this night will be very long. And maybe, just maybe, it's only the beginning. Nurse Julie listens attentively as words flow from my mouth like a river of poisoned memories. I tell her about that night in the kitchen, how Lucas appeared silently behind me while I was washing the dishes. The strange gleam in his eyes, the knife that I didn't see where it came from. I can't blame him entirely, since I married Peter. 2 years ago, the boy never accepted my presence well. He attacked you without reason? Julie asks, her eyes wide. I shake my head. That afternoon, I had discovered something about Matthew, his 12-year-old brother. Something that... My voice fails. The heart monitor speeds up again. Something that nobody should know. Thunder explodes outside, making the windows tremble. For an instant, I see it again. The pulsating portal, that colossal structure made of shadows and despair. The smell of sulfur invades my nostrils, so real that I almost vomit. After the attack, I continue, trying to keep my voice steady. I felt my consciousness fading. It was like I was being pulled backward, through a tunnel made of liquid darkness. You know that sensation of falling in a dream? It was like that, only 1,000 times more intense. Julie holds my hand. Her palms are sweaty, or are they mine? I saw my own body down there, blood spreading across the kitchen floor. Lucas was standing there in shock, his cell phone trembling in his hands while calling emergency services. And then, I close my eyes, tears streaming down. Then I was sucked into that place. What place? Julie's voice is just a whisper. Before I can answer, the lights in the room flicker violently. The air gets heavy, dense like mercury. In the corner of the room, I'm sure I see a shadow moving by itself. It was like an infinite labyrinth, I murmur, unable to stop now that I've started. The walls, they pulsated as if they were alive. There were hooded figures moving in impossible patterns. And the eyes, those faceless eyes that seemed to know all my secrets. Mrs. Mitchell. Julie tries to interrupt me, but I can't stop. And in the midst of all this, I heard the crying. Matthew's crying. He was there, Julie, trapped in that horrible place. But how? How could he be there if he's alive? Unless... My voice fails. A noise at the door startles us. It's just a nurse making her rounds, but for a second, I could swear I saw a hooded figure. What did you discover about Matthew? Julie asks, leaning in closer. I look out the window. The rain falls harder now, turning Portland into a blur of distorted lights. Somewhere out there, in our house in the Greenwater neighborhood, Peter is with the boys. Has he noticed yet? Has anyone else noticed the signs? There's something wrong with Matthew, I finally say. Something that started exactly 3 months ago, on the day when... I swallow hard. On the day I found that strange book under his bed. The wind howls outside like a tormented soul. The shadows in the room seem to dance, and I'm sure I hear a distant whisper calling my name. What book? Julie asks, her voice trembling slightly. Before I can answer, the room light goes out completely. In the sudden darkness, I hear that familiar sound, Matthew's crying, and when the light comes back, seconds later, there's a small handprint, like that of a child, imprinted on the fogged window. I think, I whisper, feeling panic growing, that something came back with me from that place, and now I don't know anymore if I came back to save Matthew or if he came to take me back. Have you ever felt like you were being watched by something that shouldn't exist? That something was waiting in the shadows, just waiting for the right moment? Tell me in the comments, And don't forget to subscribe to find out what happens next in this terrifying story. The book under Matthew's bed had no title. It was old, bound in dark leather, with strange symbols engraved on the cover. When I found it, I explained to Julie, I thought it was just another one of those RPG games he loves so much. But the pages... I shudder at the memory. The pages seemed written in blood. A distant scream echoes through the hospital corridor, making both of us jump. Just another patient having a nightmare, I try to convince myself. But I know it's not true, not anymore. At first I thought it was red ink, I continue. I tried to alert Peter, but he was so busy with work. And Lucas always protected his younger brother. So I started investigating on my own. That's when I noticed the changes in Matthew. What kind of changes? Julie asks, her voice almost inaudible. Small things at first. The neighbors. Dog would bark every time he passed by. Birds would fly away from the yard when he came home from school. And there was the smell. An odor of burned meat that seemed to follow him. I pause, gathering courage. Then, 3 days ago, I found the photos. The wind howls stronger outside, and the small handprint on the window begins to run, as if melting. They were Polaroids, hidden inside the book, all showing the same place, that place where I was taken. The portal, the hooded figures, everything, the same. And on each photo, there was a date written on the back. The last one, my voice fails. The last one was from today. Julie squeezes my hand hard. What does that mean? Matthew isn't possessed, Julie. He's something else. Something that took his form 3 months ago when he found that book. The real Matthew. Tears stream down my face. The real Matthew is the one I saw, crying on the other side. Suddenly, the hospital lights begin to flicker frantically. The smell of sulfur invades the room, and the air becomes thick as syrup. In the corridor, I hear screams and hurried footsteps. That's why Lucas attacked. Me, I whisper. He discovered the truth too, tried to prevent me from telling Peter, but now it's too late. They're coming. Who's coming? Julie asks, but her voice sounds distant, as if coming from another world. The shadows on the walls come to life, contorting into impossible shapes. The heart monitor races at a frantic rhythm. Through the window, I see Portland's lights going, out one by one, like candles blown out by an evil wind. It's not them who are coming, I say, feeling a strange calm envelop me. It's him, Matthew, or whatever is using his skin. I've been feeling his presence since I came back. Every whisper, every shadow. It was him calling me back. The familiar crying begins to echo through the room, louder now, closer. The door opens slowly, creaking on its hinges. Julie screams, but the sound is swallowed by the darkness that invades the environment. You know what's scariest? I murmur, as a small figure emerges from the shadows. I think I always knew this would happen. From the moment I came back, I knew it was only temporary. Some doors when opened, the figure approaches the bed. Under the hood, I see Matthew's face, but it's not Matthew anymore. His eyes are wells of liquid darkness, and his smile shows too many teeth, too sharp. Some doors, I complete, feeling reality shatter around me, cannot be closed. The last thing I hear is Julie's scream mixing with the sound of rain. The last thing I see is the smile of the creature that was once my stepson opening even wider, impossible, inhuman. And then the darkness embraces me, and I know that this time there will be no return. Because now I understand, it wasn't Matthew who was trapped on the other side. It was us who were trapped on this side.